Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Yishai, the CTO at LinearB. Today, we'll talk about engineering leaders and how they prepare to talk with senior leadership about the engineering org. This session is being recorded. We'll make the recording available after the session. And you've also received a link via the email to download the slide deck that I'm showing today as an asset you can use later. Please use the chat panel on the right to ask questions and discuss. We'll have some team members there ready to help. We'll also be posting some polls during the talk, so I'd love for you to participate. With me today is Ori Keren. Great having you here, Ori, with us.
It's great to be here, Shai. Thanks for having me.
So please introduce yourself. Tell us a little about yourself.
Great. So my name is Ori Keren. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of LinearB. I've been running a company for almost like 4 years, but before starting LinearB, I was a developer for a long time. Went through the phases. I was a team leader, a director of engineering, and was twice VP of engineering in companies, in startups that grew really fast, like from just a couple of people up to like close to 100. So yeah, and now I'm on the other side. So I just want to come here and contribute from how it is to sit at both sides of the table when you got a report up and share things and how things look from both sides of the table. So excited to be here.
Great. So LinearB was started about 4 years ago, all around the idea of how to help engineering and the rest of the business talk with each other. But now, in the recent months and the new kind of market climate, we're seeing an even stronger focus on these questions. So, can you tell me a little bit about how you're viewing this and what you're seeing is changing?
Yeah, it's almost like I've been around. I started developing like even before the Agile Manifesto. That was in 2001, and I see this line goes from the Agile Manifesto in 2001 to like the DevOps revolution in 2014, and to companies like LinearB and other like adopting principles like Dora Metrics and being able to measure engineering efficiency in 2019. And we're, as an industry, we're on the right track. Like I can see us like getting closer to that golden age where we're all measuring the right things and we're all improving our productivity in a great way that doesn't hurt the culture, etc. But because of like the economic downturn right now, there's pressure that's coming, from, and we're going to talk about it probably today, from CEOs and boards on engineering teams on getting fast results and finding, how to measure fast. And what this is causing, it's causing the industry a little bit to regress back to some bad habits. Maybe, we heard like horror stories about counting lines of code and all the kind of things that is an industry already understood that they are wrong and that they won't contribute anything to finding, the people who are the bottom performers as they define them.
So maybe it's like a signal that the pressure is on, so people are scrambling to do something, and we're all about helping them doing the right thing. So we want to help engineering leaders frame the conversation, and you came up with what we call the ETA metaphor for how to think about the whole question of dev productivity and engineering org efficiency. So can you walk us through what dev productivity ETA means?
Yeah, we love the term ETA because it's almost like double meaning. What is a dev productivity ETA, right? So when is it coming? But it's also a great way to remember the three pillars that you gotta be able to measure and improve if you want like better engineering efficiency, dev productivity. E stands for experience, which is developer experience. T is a good word for tempo, which kind of like shows you like the internal cadence in which the engineering organization is able to move things through the pipeline. And A stands for alignment, business alignment, of how much your engineering is aligned with the business. So I'll quickly explain what they mean. But Developer experience to me is like developer productivity, but from the eyes of a developer. So how easy it is to test things where I work, how easy it is to deploy stuff, how easy it is like to get code approved and merged. As we know, it's a big problem. So think about dev productivity, but from the eyes of a developer. Um, the tempo piece is very correlated with like the Dora metrics, but not just that. Maybe more extensible metrics like rework, like PR size, etc. And basically, what if you measure and improve them, what they will teach you is like what is your internal cadence of your engineering organization? Are you used to like short cycles, move them quickly through the pipeline, get fast feedback, release them fast, etc.? Or are you still working in long cycles of like 10 or 15 days? So that's the tempo. It's really important. Both of these are great, but the last but not least piece is the business alignment, because you could have like developers that love to work at your company. They're very productive. The tempo is amazing, but you're moving in the wrong direction from what the business is asking you. That's why you got to have also the business alignment, um, uh, stuff that helps you measure that you're actually executing on what the business needs and helps the business hit the entire company goals.
Great. So yeah, ETA, very easy to remember. And to help engineering leaders shape the conversation, around efficiency, around how do we get more out of every dollar spent, we created this, very short and very succinct deck that helps drive the point home. This is what we are going to dive into today, and it's about three things: helping you shape the conversation, helping you base the discussion on data and relevant data that is the right thing to measure, not lines of code, and establish trust with your senior leaders that you have this under control, you have a plan, you know what's happening, everyone has visibility. So let's dive in. The first slide that we suggest showing in that kind of conversation is basically a snapshot of the current engineering health, and it highlights three core metrics. So can you walk us through why are we using these metrics and what do they mean and how they touch on the ETA that we just mentioned?
Yeah, so let's go from left to right. What we see on the left is cycle time, also known as like lead time for changes. This is classic Dora metric, which is a very important super metric that will tell you how much time it takes from when you commit code until it's in production. And what you get inside this package is a bunch of things in this deck. You see like how much time it's actually taking. By the way, for those of you, I'm sure almost everybody are familiar with the Dora metrics, but if there's somebody that's not familiar, this is a very important group. They did a lot of academic research around. It's called like DevOps Research and Assessment. It's a great group led by Dr. Nicole Forsgren. They were acquired by Google, and now Google is continuing like to maintain this. And basically, lead time for changes, aka cycle time, helps you track exactly what we said from commit until the code is in production. So what we see here is an example where it's trending more or less like the previous period, whether it's a month or a quarter. You see like the strong thing here, it means that in comparison to the industry benchmark, this is a good number. And you can see a goal on the lower side, like which says, okay, next quarter or next month, we want to put it, get to like 3 days. So that's cycle time. Then in the middle, we see lead time, which is a little bit different because it's not just look on an individual task or a branch that a developer just pushed. It looks like on a full epic that a product and engineering are trying to push end to end. And it's also really important because it encapsulates like how much time it takes from ideation until the value meets the customer. And the same thing here, there's benchmarks and there's goals. Last but not least, we see on the right merge frequency, which is a very important developer experience metric that, again, helps you examine how things look from the developer's eyes. When I was a developer, I wanted to complete my task and complete my task. Unfortunately, I'm dependent in other people that will review my code and help me get my PR, approve it, and merge. So in this example, we see that overall, a developer on average can complete the 0.83 pull request, and we want to maybe push this number up and improve it towards like 0.9 PRs for a developer per week. So again, same thing. You get a benchmarks here. You get to see how it is from a developer's eyes, and yeah, it correlates a lot like with the ETA that we spoke before.
Yeah, I really love the merge frequency because it captures a lot of different things that will block a developer, and developers hate being blocked. So if I'm context switching too much or waiting on others or blocked because of some external input, these are all going to change my merge frequency. And if I am able to consistently get high merge frequency for my devs, it means that we are unblocked. It means we can push on and we have an effective process. So great. We have like the snapshot of the current health. Where are we? What is our trend? I think it's crucial to show some plan for the future. That's the goals that we're showing here. Really helps the audience understand that it's not just showing you numbers. You have a plan attached to this. Great. So the next focus point is going to be on the A side, the business alignment, and this is about understanding where we are investing and is that aligned with the business priorities. So, Ori, you've been a VP of engineering, and can you tell us what was the most common question you got from your CEO?
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember that we ran like QBRs or exec offsite, and every time it was my CEO would come and tell me, okay, can you for our QBR collect all the data and show the rest of the exec team what are the projects that we're working on and how much energy are we investing on each one of them, and what's their predictability, like how likely they're going to hit complete on time. So I remember, first of all, it was a very cumbersome task to collect all the data. It took me I don't know, a week or even 10 days, to kind of work with my team to just compile all the data to something that people can read. We discovered some interesting thing. When you see that you have 0.25 people working on a project, probably means, hey, you don't have enough firepower there.
No one's working on it.
No high chances for this project to be successful. And yeah, once I got it, it was amazing because it was the base of a conversation. But yeah, I remember how much I had to invest just to get the basic information here.
Right. So yeah, the next slide in our asset is a view into the key investments. These are the key projects, the key initiatives that the engineering is working on and has spent time on a very clear view of where is our headcount spent, and additional information that is to support decision. So why don't you walk us through what we're seeing here and how to talk about this with your CEO or board members?
Yeah, okay. So this is the interesting part. We see here 5 projects, and for each project, we're going to see the name of the project. FTE stands for how many full-time employees are working on this project in the last month, quarter, etc. Estimated cost, this is really important. What we highly recommend is take the average salary and multiply it by the FTEs. Don't get into the details of, hey, if this is an expensive engineer and all that. This is not helpful. And people, it's not the right way we think. We can dive into that later on why, to kind of look at how much project costs. But you want the estimated cost. You want people to understand how much investment there is there. And then what we see is predictability. Now, predictability is really important. Here it's compiled from the stability of the project, basically. It's a combination of how consistent are we delivering, How is the cycle time that we saw before? How much failures we have? Are we doing a lot of rollbacks in this project, or are we delivering basically more or less on time? It's really important, because if you want to decide to scale a project, you want to see if it's actually ready for scale, and vice versa. If something is not working, maybe it's time to restart. So that's like the predictability, and of course, you see if it's on track, yes or no. There's a lot of questions that people will ask you specifically when you show this slide, and we can talk about them, Yishai.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll cover some common pitfalls or obstacles as you discuss this. So yeah, just to add some focus when talking about this, there's the core question of, are we investing in the right place, and how does this match our decisions from the previous quarter or period, and coming up with a concrete plan for change, or maybe 2 or more suggestions like options, and then choice between options is always a better way to frame the conversation. So
I'll just add to that, like, one point. Again, as an individual that was on the reporting side and now like on the hearing this information, I think, again, if engineering leaders get into the mindset of, okay, what people are going to ask me, and they're ready with some suggestions of the shift that they think they need to do, or maybe there's no shift they need to do, it does amazing results.
Right. So the final slide in the deck is about the Dora metrics, which are, these are 4 metrics split into delivery and stability. And they're so standard, but a lot of people don't really know them or understand what they mean. So maybe let's start by walking quickly through the 4 metrics and what they mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see here like the 4 Dora metrics. On the left side, we see 2 metrics that are on the delivery side, or on the velocity cadence side. On the right side, we see stability. On the top left, we see deployment frequency, basically like how much time am I releasing, how many times am I releasing, like per day, per whatever period you want to choose. Bottom left, you see cycle time, which says like how much time it takes, like we said, from when code is being committed until it's in production. It's a great indicator of like, are we working in short cycles, which are highly recommended, or are we still like, 2 or 3 week cycles? On the right side, we see CFR. CFR stands for change failure rate, and it's a simple metric that will tell you how much of your releases you need to roll back because you found a problem, there was a degradation in the service. So here we see like 2%. What it means that out of 100 releases, 2 had to roll back for this organization. And last but not least, we see MTTR, which stands for mean time to restore. And basically what it means, okay, we had this problem, we released something, and we need to roll back, how much time it takes us. When your organization is releasing a lot of time, can restore with no damage really quickly, you allow yourself to make more mistakes and to experiment more and to move faster. So these are like the Dora metrics, and I can see the nice sticky notes here that we can talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. So like there's a lot of overlap between the Dora metrics and, for example, some of the metrics we've shown on the first slide, the ones that we are suggesting to lead with. So why not just lead with Dora? Why not use that as your window pane?
Yeah, it's a great question. Like I keep comparing like Dora and the cadence and the tempo to like a car engine. So your car can move perfectly fine, but again, you could be moving in the wrong direction. So actually a lot of people came to us and say, yeah, I want to present Dora metrics, but the business doesn't really understand it. So I recommend doing 2 things. First of all, like say, these are my standard KPIs. If you speak to marketing, hey, do you have like attribution, multi-touch attribution? What's the source? All of the things that you measure. If you talk to sales, you're measuring win rates. These are engineering standard KPIs. They're becoming industry standards, so you need to know them. that's the first thing I recommend on doing. And by the way, if you're presenting them, what I would recommend, start the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 times that you present them, say what they are again and again. After the 5th time, people will understand. And the coolest thing that's happening, I had a bunch of like engineering leaders coming to me and saying, you know what's my best part of the day? When the VP of sales is asking me, hey, why is your cycle time trending in this way? That means that, okay, now they understand. Now they live and breathe my process like I live and breathe sometimes their process. So that's really cool. Another thing that we recommend doing, and we did it with the sticky notes here, is if you have like CEO or somebody that came not from a technical background, help them tie it to business goals. So, for example, take deployment frequency and say, hey, intuitively you can tie it like to a sales cycle, right? If you deploy a lot, you also measure your sales cycle and the velocity of deals. So it's really similar. Then some wire is connected in their head, and they'll remember it in the next time. If you're talking about cycle time, talk about feature velocity. Yeah, if we're operating in fast cycles, hey, you guys probably want more features, right? Because it helps sales. So they will identify now with this metric. Same goes for CFR. It helps with customer retention because we're not failing so much. And MTTR is actually very nice because I actually seen customers that if you're stable all the time, sometimes if you fail, but you explain why you failed and you recover fast, the customer satisfaction will be even higher than if you're just stable all the time. So again, these are helpers and hints that help like tie between the Dora universe to back to the business.
Great. So to summarize, the Dora Metrics slide is important. It's a standard. You will see more and more CEOs and other leaders ask for Dora Metrics because they've heard about it. It's becoming the standard. But it may not be the best thing to lead with, as it's not always directly aligned to what the business is thinking about. So it's an important part of your conversation, and important, like you said, to educate your audience about what Dora is and how to use it. So next, I want to touch on a few common obstacles or potential pitfalls as you present in this way or similar the engineering organization and its status to senior leaders. So let's go over some of these. One of the common questions you may get, at least at starting, is I don't understand this metric, or even worse, why is it important? Why should I care about your cycle time? Why should I care about some internal merges per week?
Yeah, what I like to answer, or what I would like to recommend for people, if that's like the reaction that we're getting, is like, hey, maybe 10 years ago, nobody really cared about what's your cost of acquisition, or it wasn't that of a standard. And yeah, we have standards in engineering as well. That's how we measure things. That's a lot of time like a leading indicator to how we will perform and how quickly the value will get to you. So I just at the first level, I highly recommend educating, not in a very polite way. Educate, just say, hey, this is why this metric is important. This is why it's tied to a lot of the things that we do internally. Sometimes I would sit as an engineering leader in a staff meeting or a board meeting, and these meetings are long. Not all the time I would listen to exactly which lead source is performing well. It's fine. At some points it will be really interesting for me as an engineering lead, and I would listen. That's what I would answer. Hey, you don't have to listen to all the metrics, but yeah, take a couple of minutes, hear what it is. Eventually you understand how we operate as well as engineering leaders, and we'll work together as partners.
Right. And you mentioned that this is sometimes the audience is the board meeting, or that's the setting. In many cases, it's not the board meeting, right? Either you're not invited as an engineering leader, or you have a minute. So there are a lot of other occasions to use and need this kind of conversation.
Yeah, that's actually a very important point, because sometimes boards are like quarterly, and if they're quarterly, you would want to. That's what I recommend to every engineering leader: start the efficiency conversation. Don't wait for a board meeting. They probably have like a monthly meeting with your CEO. You probably have like other opportunities. I would recommend surfacing this information on a monthly basis and initiating that conversation. So you get more airtime, because sometimes in boards, with engineering, they say, okay, 2 minutes. Can you show us like, there's no more time. Like, so can you show us like, okay, what's happening? Then you're like trying to get the most out of it. So yeah, definitely we'll try to do that in QBRs, in monthly meetings. This way you get more airtime. And again, I'm calling on every engineering leader to initiate the conversation. You can control the narrative if you initiate the conversation. It's a much more better position. You're much more mature if you're saying, hey, this is how I'm measuring my efficiency, and you initiate it. I see it sometimes. I see that you have like, people come to you and say, hey, we need to cut 10% of the dev. If you initiate, most chances that this conversation will look completely different. I'm not saying that sometimes it won't need to happen. Sometimes that's the reality, but it's a different type of conversation. It's like much more constructive, much more back and forth. You talk together on the project that you may stop or so.
Yeah, this goes back to our slide with, this is our investment, this is what I'm suggesting to change, or here are a couple of suggestions with impacts. Now you've moved the conversation into things that you've already thought about, instead of getting some directive you need to cut. And it's typically a bit late to start fighting that when that directive falls.
Absolutely.
So, totally agree with preempting the conversation and shaping it in the way that makes more sense. What about the common, like, I'm presenting, let's go back to that slide just to make it clear. I'm showing my key investments. One of my projects is an infrastructure or tech debt or non-functional project. And like, am I not inviting my, fellow members in the C-suite to say, why don't we just cut this project? Like, am I not asking for trouble by showing it like this?
Yeah, I got a lot of like times like ask this question. So what are your options? First of all, don't show anything. So you don't like, it's not good. You want transparency. You want to teach and educate like the rest of the org on the craft of like running an engineering organization. And it's our job as engineering leaders to say, hey, maybe by the way, when you show the project, you can say untouchable on this infrastructure project, that you move all of your stuff to a new, I don't know, storage system or database system, etc. It's on us. So we got to mark those. We got to say, hey, you know what, we can stop it, but here's the damage that will happen. And yeah, we all made mistakes. We all did like also infrastructure and tech debt project that maybe didn't do exactly what we need, but that's we have the knowledge. We as engineering leaders know the project that we must do. So I can't tell you that we're immune. Nobody will ask us this question. Probably they will. I say come ready, mark it in red, untouchable, say in the options, we can't move this project because 1, 2, 3. And then you prevent this thing from happening, or at least like reduce the chances of this happening. The other option, not showing those projects, is not relevant. We gotta be transparent.
Great, thanks. So this concludes our session for today. We talked about dev productivity ETA with the developer experience, with the development tempo, and with business alignment. And I'm first of all, I'd like to thank you, Ori, for joining us and for being here. So thank you very much.
This was great.
Huge thank you for LinearB customers in our audience. It's great to have you on with us today. If you'd like to see your own data on the slides that we shared, reach out to your customer success team or at the customer team at LinearB.io, and we will follow up. If you're not a customer yet or you want to learn more, we have a couple of links here for you to learn more about the leadership reports that LinearB provides, or to just get started, jump into LinearB and again, have these kind of conversations based on data, and we will be happy to support you. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye.